Hey there, welcome. SkyTour LiveStream. May 3rd. It's May. Yay! It's May. Did I say it's May? Yeah, hey guys, welcome. It's so nice to have you all joining me tonight along with Daryl Mason. Daryl, welcome to SkyTour Livestream. As always, an integral part of SkyTour Radio and SkyTour Livestream. It's the Daryl Mason. Hey man, how you doing?
Hi, Mark. Hanging in there. How are you? Hello, everybody.
I am doing fine. Thank you, Du. That was very nice, man. I think he liked our music. Yeah, I figured we're gonna start off on the moon. There's actually a couple of more comets up in Camelopardalis, the giraffe, and these comets are Pan-STARRS and another Comet Atlas, but this one's not Y4, it's Y1. They are significantly fainter than Y4 was, but we might try to image them anyway. What do you think about that? I think that it might be pretty cool. But right now we're actually looking at the moon. We're gonna hang out with the moon for a little while. So I think that I just wanted to mention that tonight's SkyTour live stream is brought to you by the letter M. It's sort of like Sesame Street. For moon, okay, and for this wonderful evening. The moonlight is beautiful to those who actually love the moon. Astronomers really don't like the moon that much, but you know what? I think that I think I could understand that feeling, and I also think I could just live with this moon. It's pretty, don't you think? Now, with the blue color is because of the filter that I'm using. We have a filter in here, and if I were to just pop through the filters, you can actually see this one here is the very narrow band filter, thus it's quite dark. We're only looking at some slices of the spectrum from the moon. This next one coming in is the full lit color. This is actually a full color of the moon based on visible light, just visible light. You can actually see difference in tone here for these parts, and you can actually see some color here. There's some what looks like purple. It's actually kind of a brown. There's many different browns on the moon, and there's even some white soil on the moon actually too. So it's actually pretty neat. And I want to say happy birthday to Eric. He is here as American Road Warrior. What's going on, Eric? I just think it's a great night to spend with SkyTour Livestream when you're celebrating your birthday, don't you think, Eric? So, happy birthday to Eric. He is also the state director for the Mutual UFO Network in Massachusetts, and he does a phenomenal job. And if anyone deserves a good birthday, it's Eric. So, thank you for joining us tonight, and it's really nice to see you here. So, I think tonight we're gonna hang out with the moon for a little while. This is a live view. For those that have been here before, this next part might seem redundant, but on the left side here we have the telescope control system. We have the controls for the actual movement of the telescope here. We have control systems to get into the computer of the telescope here. We have focus controls here, and we have a filter wheel down here, and we have several filters. Right now we're on white light. All right, and we can change it back and forth with the touch of the arrow buttons. This down here is me. Okay, hello there, and if you're wondering what that is right there, that's Gumby. That's Gumby right there looking at you. How many of you saw that? And Gumby is, of course, something that has, I think everybody knows Gumby. You know Gumby, right, Daryl?
I did not grow up with Gumby. I know who he is, of course.
Oh, okay. Hey, that's fair. So, and then on this side of the screen, we have the camera cluster. This controls all the aspects of the camera. We can change a number of things here with the camera. And then this down here, this is the live view into the dome to see the telescope. And it also registers movement and sends me alerts when there's motion going on inside the dome. So So this then is our live view. We'll just wait for that to come back here. In fact, I don't want to bother with it if it's going to be just hanging out there like that. So we'll just send it away until it comes back. So here's our live moon. It looks beautiful. And I've made some changes to the interface a little bit. You'll notice that when I hit this particular keystroke here, we actually get this very close-up view. This close-up view is for focusing. The nice thing is I can keep the moon in the view in the background there and just move the view around and get to something that I want to try and focus on, like say this right here. In white light, the focus is a little bit different than with the filters. The filters will cause a little bit of a difference. So I have to refocus. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to now hit the focus buttons, and you'll watch the craters get out of focus. As you can see, these craters are out of focus over here. These guys right here. And now they're going to be brought back into focus. And we'll take care of that. So it's coming back in. You can also see the disturbance or perturbation, as we call it, of the atmosphere. Okay, and when we get to the sweet spot where the focus is, you'll notice the perturbation looks granular. And that means that our focus is fairly close. So we go out. Okay, this is out of focus, and then we come back in. And it just sort of jumps out at you when it's focused. So that's out of focus. When it's in focus, it just jumps out. Okay, like right about there. Okay, and then when we come out of the focus mode, we can then find ourselves looking at the moon again and take a picture and see how we did. Now the photos are being taken at a 60th of a second, so we're actually not doing badly. This particular view is better here. And we will, I think we're going to refocus again. Yeah. All right, so it's not really quite focused yet. And you know what? SkyTour Radio was supposed to be happening right now on KGRA, and Daryl, of course, is a co-host on there along with Amanda. I have to say that unfortunately, KGRA went down yesterday. They had a problem occur with one of the servers, and they are ferociously fighting this problem. And Bill New York Skywatcher, who produces many of the shows on the network, is beside himself. So I basically said, all right, Bill, you know what? We're going to make it easy. We're going to call it tonight. I'm not going to do tonight's show. I will do it next week. And that's exactly what we're going to do. But I am going to treat you to a little bit about that show, and we're going to talk about kind of what that show was about. And the moon does figure into it, actually. First of all, this being in real color, you can actually see the difference in the soil coloration. That's pretty crazy there, huh, Daryl, how that looks?
Yeah, I've seen some really deep exposures of the moon like this, and
yeah,
the colors around different areas of the moon. I mean, it's really striking. And I guess that represents different elements or compounds on the face.
Oh, yeah. It really, really does, really does. And I know that, it depends on the chemical composition of the magmas when this was laid down. Okay, as you can see, this is a roughly circular patch. So there was an impact here, and that impact formed this original basin here. But then another type of magma came out, either in a subsequent impact or from the same impact, probably a subsequent impact. And those magmas came from maybe shallower, maybe deeper, not sure, but it really spread over many miles of the moon here, which is not saying much considering that the moon is only just over 2,000 miles in diameter. Okay, so, but the consistency and the chemical composition of the magmas, once on the surface as lavas that flowed, found their level and then cooled into this what we call the regolith, the soil. Okay, it became soil after pulverization by micrometeorites and by effects of ultraviolet radiation from the sun. The moon actually has no atmosphere, and I say to speak of, because it does actually have some errant sodium atoms, actually, that form. I can't even say it's an atmosphere. It's basically a tenuous, vaporous set of atoms in the exosphere of the moon. That exosphere is the area around the moon, above the surface. Kind of interesting, how that works out. So now these magmas here that came out and formed this area, different chemical composition, different from those magmas. So there's a lot of differences on the moon, but look at the difference in the colors. Isn't that striking? I mean, this and this are different from this. I mean, it's very, very different, very, very clear. And this photo is just a 60th of a second. Okay. Now let's go back to our view. Again, we're in white light mode, and as I said, I'm going to refocus again because I want to try and get us some critical focus. And it's actually kind of tricky, actually. As an astronomer, what you do is you basically you're listening to your equipment and you're hearing what the equipment's doing, But sometimes you can't hear what's going on, and so you don't really know. You don't really know what's happening in the dome. So that's part of being a remote operator, remotely trying to figure out what's going on inside. And let me see if my telescope came back. Yeah, it did. Okay, so let me just grab that. If this is up and running, we'll actually be able to hear what's going on. We don't need to, but you can actually hear it right now. You actually hear. You know what you're hearing? Let me just turn on the music so you can hear it. In the background, I don't know if you can hear it, but you're hearing peepers, tens of thousands of little tiny peeper frogs, and they are peeping in the lake, which is right at the end of the property here. It's actually across the street, so I don't have to worry about the insurance. So isn't that pretty cool? So lots of peepers, lots of frogs, lots of life. And that's what this planet's all about, is diverse life everywhere we look. And that's something that I think is really important. I'm in the process of focusing now. So if you watch this left-hand image over here, you're gonna see this area start to sharpen up. All right, and on our planet, we have billions of life forms, absolutely billions of life forms, and we have had millions, hundreds of millions before that that have come and gone. They ended up becoming extinct. Probably because natural selection weeded them out. And when people talk about natural selection, I think it's kind of important to understand what that is. Let's talk about how the Earth works for just a moment. You're a creature that is on the planet, and you have 2 arms and 2 legs, and you have 1 eye in the center of your head. Let's suppose. Now, let's also suppose that another creature, offshoot of your species, is born with 2 eyes, one placed on the left and one placed on the right. This gives that creature binocular vision. The creature that's born with 1 eye, which unfortunately is you, doesn't have depth perception, and the other creature does. So naturally, he would survive. And I say naturally, meaning not like of course, but naturally by nature, he stands a chance to survive better than the species that has 1 eye. That might be a similar offshoot of his species. So in subsequent iterations of mating and birth, there'll be equal numbers of each that are born, but the ones that will tend to die off first are the 1-eyed ones, and so they won't get to mate. So over time, the 2-eyed ones will be the only ones left. Okay, and that's called that's evolution. That's a mutation followed by an adaptation. Okay, the 2-eyed ones adapt to the circumstances better than the 1-eyed ones. So you see that is what happened with every species on this planet, multiple times over, within species and with competing species. So some competing species were wiped out by another competing species that wasn't even related to them. And some of these creatures, they actually, when they were created, they formed the spoke of the wheel, the hub of the wheel, and that is to say, the hub of the evolutionary wheel. And off of that one creature were spawned many different mutations, which became, in some cases, successful, and in other cases, unsuccessful. And that way, you had something called radiative adaptation. These spokes coming out from a common ancestor. And that's exactly what we see with the Earth and all the species here. There has been a radial adaptation, that has happened, and this methodology for living creatures to expand their reach and to spread across the planet is something that we see all throughout the evolutionary record. It's absolutely amazing. And I'm going to tell you something else that you may or may not believe, but is absolutely true. The moon is not essential for life on Earth. Now, there's some that are saying, well, wait a minute, of course it is. The moon made tides. And if without tides, we wouldn't have had tide pools, and we wouldn't have had creatures that were left without water for a period of hours and who learned to mutate and adapt to that situation. And, isn't that the evolution you're talking about, Mark? And the answer is yes, that's evolution. But without the moon, we would still have tides. And I know Daryl knows why. But do you? If you know, write in the chat. Add to the chat, write in. And we're not going to tell you the answer until we see the right answer. Why did we still have tides here on the Earth, even if the moon didn't exist? All right, that's the question for you guys in chat right now. And the moon is right here for you to look at and get some hints about. All right, so you tell me what you think. And Daryl, of course, I know you know the answer to that. We've talked about this 100 times.
I will say this, per your earlier comment about one-eyed critters not getting the chance to mate.
Yeah.
Chicks dig guys who wear iPad.
Yeah. And if you can get a little closer to your mic, Daryl, you're a little farther away and you were kind of faint.
Okay, sorry. Is that
No,
better?
yeah, a little. Yeah, just be louder. Okay, now, looks like Tara is the winner. She won, and Terry Groff, you're second, man. But you know what? You're still first in my book, buddy. Terry Groff is a good friend of mine from Dallas, Texas. Spent some time with him there. We're working on, as I told you guys in the past, a National Geographic show together, and I just wanted to have Terry be part of that thing because I figured, hey, why not, man? The more the merrier. So he helped in that production. It was a lot of fun. You were right. Now, a trope says Earth gravity. Well, you know what? There is a certain amount of friction that's created by the rotation of the Earth, okay, against the water body, that's there, but it's rotating at the same speed. But the motion of the Earth is, in part, affected by the moon, but without the moon, we would still have tides because of Tara's answer, who's correct, and Terry Groff's answer, the sun. The tides would be about half the height. Half the height. It's not like they'd be, much, much smaller. They'd actually they're about half the height of the regular tides. So if the tide went out 8 feet, it'd go out 4 feet. Still plenty of tide pools that can be made. Now, would that have changed our evolution? Well, maybe. Maybe we would end up with a slightly different timeline. But, we are what we are because of the 5 major extinction events that have occurred on this planet. And when we talk about extinction events, in the Permian period, 252 million years ago, what would be us, mammals, were dominant. If it seems as if on a planet that when life forms, it seems that mammalian types might actually be dominant because it happened here, not just once. So in the Permian, the pre-mammals, the things that would be mammals, were dominant. But because of an eruption in what is now Siberia, I mean a massive eruption that spewed many, many gigatons, that's billions of tons of carbon dioxide into the air from this massive eruption. It was like a fissure eruption. Right, a large, broad area, crack in the earth, basically, that was spewing a lot of material. And it actually was helped along by the material underground, a lot of organic material that when the lava was moving horizontally through this material, creating what's called a dike, all right, or a sill, the magma actually would strike this organic material, and the organic material would be vaporized, and you get carbon dioxide in part. So all along the way, there was like a lava plug right over where this eruption was happening. So the lava spread horizontally in every direction. The magma, I mean, spread horizontally in every direction. Some got to the surface as lava, but most of the magma stayed underground, and it went out many miles in every direction. All along the way, it was vaporizing organic material underground and creating massive amounts of carbon dioxide. When it finally overtook the edge of its own cap that was blocking all of this magma from getting out and erupting to the surface, it happened what we seem to think is all at once, and it popped the cap all around the perimeter for miles in every direction, and gigatons of carbon dioxide got spewed into the air. That gigatons of carbon dioxide actually caused the oceans to lose a lot of their oxygen because the water heated up and the oxygen couldn't be held in suspension in the seawater for long, and almost all the sea life was killed over the course of some thousands of years. And that led to the things that would be us, the pre-mammals, basically being almost ushered out of existence. However, there was one particular set of species that were hurt by it, but relatively untouched. And that particular set of species were of the reptiles. And thus began the age of the dinosaurs. And that's why we have dinosaurs on Earth, because of an extinction event from a volcanic eruption. Isn't that crazy? And then, what would have happened if there were no more extinction events? How would life have happened? How would life have gone on? 65 million years ago, we had the Cretaceous Paleogene boundary event. What's that? Well, you know, that's when the dinosaurs were killed by the asteroid that struck off the Yucatan Peninsula, right? Now, that asteroid, when it struck, it threw so much material up into the air that day became night for some period of time, perhaps weeks, perhaps months, maybe longer. And it was enough that the reptiles that would, especially the theropods, the meat eaters, they would eat the plant eaters, and the plant eaters would eat the plants. Well, the hardest hit life form at that time became the plants. A lot of the plants and so forth on the land, because plants had moved to the land, died off. And this, of course, was a gradual process. And then the plant eaters didn't have food, and they ended up dying off. And then the rest of the dinosaurs that ate the plant eaters died off. It was sort of a cascade, a domino effect, you see. So I think that what we're looking at is now we're looking at a world where the reptiles have been ushered almost out of existence. And guess who was waiting in the wings? Those little almost extinguished life forms that would become us. And we arose from the ashes of this asteroid strike 65 million years ago, and once again came into dominance. And this dominance that we now enjoy and the somewhat frail makeup of the human form is all a result of where evolution took us starting hundreds of millions of years ago. Now, I ask a question that I think is pretty cool, and that is, what do you think would have happened if the Permian era did not suffer an extinction event 252 million years ago? Would we have come about sooner? What would we look like? Would we be the same? The answer is certainly probably no. But what would we look like? And for that answer, well, you know what? I'm going to leave that to you. If you want to go look that up. And then when we do SkyTour Radio next week, we're going to be talking about astrobiology. And we're going to take questions about that conundrum I just posed to you now. Hey, dude, thanks, man. I'm glad you like the story, because this is our story. This is the story of Earth. And thank you so much. I really like that you enjoy it. So when we talk about like the Earth and its evolution, we also have to remember that we're not the only planet that has evolution and had evolution. Other planets evolved too. And this brings us to tonight's topic on SkyTour Radio, which unfortunately we couldn't do because KGRA went down yesterday. And like I said, Bill is pulling what hair he has left out, I'm sure. It's not his fault it went down. They're trying to find someone who actually is responsible for the servers, and that person, I tried contacting him, Bill did, Race did. Everyone's been trying to contact him, and he's nowhere to be found. So he must have gone away for the weekend or whatever. I don't know. But you've got to leave people with information, man, about how to fix things when they go wrong. That's kind of what you're supposed to do. So, how we talk about evolution elsewhere. Let's look at there's 3 places in our solar system that I think we need to look at that will help us figure out more about how life might develop. And that is, if we look at Mars, Europa, and Titan, Saturn's moon, Titan. Hold on, folks. I'll be right back to you. I have to take a short little deviation. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I had to just make sure that people understood here that I did indeed feed the dog. I don't want to let my little cattle dog go without food, because he might start herding me into a corner and start chewing on me. So that said, I am very happy to announce that we are the pinnacle of our species at the moment. But does it mean that this is all we can be? Well, we look to the other planets in our solar system. We look at the solar system's composition of the other planets. Mars can't be any more different than Titan. And Titan can't be any more different than Europa. Europa can't be any more different than Mars. And all 3 of those are extremely different from us. So how is it that all 3 of those actually moons and planets, okay? Titan is as big as a planet, but it's a moon because it's going around a much bigger planet. So I would have to say that when you look at how Titan formed, Mars formed, and Europa formed, and the content of each one of those, the composition, well, you have to think about what happened that made each of those planets what they are. Okay, so when we think about evolution here, it's not the same as evolution on Mars. Okay, when we think about evolution on Europa, well, we don't even know if there's life on Europa nor life on Mars. But we do know that it's possible that there was life on Mars. And we're going to talk next week. We're going to talk about a meteorite that was found in the Antarctic, which had some really interesting, characteristics. It looked like this meteor had what looked like tiny nanobacteria in it. And this meteor was found in the Antarctic ice sheet. And it was a meteor that was actually very, small and nondescript. But you've usually on the ice sheet, if you see a rock sitting on the ice sheet, 9 times out of 10 it's a meteor, because otherwise it'd be ice. Otherwise it'd be ice. Okay, one moment. We actually lost Daryl. I'm going to bring him back on. I apologize for the annoying Skype noise you're going to hear. Yes, we hate Skype. Yes, okay.
Hello.
Hey, you're back. All right.
Sorry about that. I just lost all power here at Mr. Computer.
Oh, wow. I thought you were making a statement about my talk about evolution.
No. Sorry.
Of course not.
Mr. Computer's acting extra flaky again today.
Yeah, that's too bad. I actually had a problem with my monitor. I told you guys, I think before we started, I actually have to, change out a monitor. So I did that, and all is well. Okay. I just want to take a moment here, by the way, in the middle of my discussion here, to just say hello to the people that have been so wonderful in joining. I want to say hi to Farva, who has donated to us. Cypher 2, welcome. Amal is here. Justin T is here. Hey, who's that SkyTour LiveStream guy? Tara is here. Nice to see you. Justin T. I mentioned Axie's here. Charles Smar, and you, Daryl, you're here, right? I think you are.
I think I are.
Didn't lose you yet. Okay, Ronald is here, of course. And we have some new faces, too. We have, my Daily Side's here. He's not a new face. We have American Road Warrior. This is Eric. He's here. Nice to see him. And Dew, he's here. Andy Morrow's here. And Dew, thanks for the donation. That was very, very nice of you. Terry Groff is here. It's nice to hang with Terry again. We had a lot of fun in Texas. Bobby Burgess is here. Marco's here. And then, of course, we have Ha. And Tara, I mentioned. Carolina Sky, I missed your name before. Thanks, man. Good to see you. And there is someone else that's here that I'm looking for right now. I just have to say, Jenny Jones, hey, how are you? And Rock is here, Rockstar. Let's see, Dr. Fox 2000, I'm glad to see you here. Thanks for coming on board with us tonight. And I do want to say thank you to our friend who has just joined us, I think, for the first time. Okay, and that is... where is his name? I just saw it. Patuflunma. Thank you. He's from Argentina. It's really nice to see you here. Thank you for coming. It's really nice. Cindy Murphy's here. Welcome. And I think that if I missed you, and there's a Tropa's here as well. If I missed you, it's only because I just didn't see your name come through. I apologize. And if you spend time, if you do actually write in the chat, your name will show up and be evident to me immediately. So it's great to see you guys. Thank you for joining us tonight on SkyTour LiveStream. We are looking at the moon right now, but that will change. I made some changes in the dome. When a telescope's optics are open to the outside, it's subject to humidity and moisture. And many times what shuts down an astronomer is the dew, and that is something that happens as soon as the temperature drops to the dew point. That's where water can begin condensing onto components out of the air. And we don't like dew, do we, Daryl?
Not me.
No, nobody loves dew. Well, except for Dew W. We like Dew W, but we don't like DEW, dew.
Maybe that's why he keeps chipping in tonight. I can tell a story, one I learned the hard way.
Go right ahead.
I had just got my first Celestron. This was back in the mid '80s,
Okay.
and I had it out on a very cold night.
Yep.
And at the end of the evening's observing session, I picked it up and carried it into the house.
Ooh.
And guess what happened?
It covered up with fog.
Instantly. It just did. The entire telescope was covered with water.
Yep.
And I never did that again.
Yeah. No, you gotta let them acclimate outside. Unfortunately, it stinks.
Yep. I need to talk with somebody about that too. Somebody we all know and love. But that's neither here nor there. Mark, would you mind sharing your screen with me again,
Oh
please?
yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't realize it was. I didn't realize it was gone. All right, hang on. I'm just going to finish prepping this exposure here for the all sky cam and set it loose. Okay, that should be good. All right. Dude, man, you're the man, dude. Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't know what's I don't know what's going on, man, but I'm glad that you guys like it. All right, so here we are, and let me get us out of the all sky until the camera pictures, the photo's done. Yeah, so this is the real-time view of the moon as it is now in the sky. And we can actually, if we wanted to, we can actually just get rid of all the stuff in the way here. So you can see the moon alone right now. This is the telescope control that I told you about. Focus control and other computer control. And then we have the filter wheel. Hello, Flames of War. And so, let's just take a photo right now of the moon right like this. This is at a 60th of a second at an ISO of only 50, if you'll notice. So this is really, really low. And we're still going to have some blown out areas over here, but let's just try it anyway. And there it is. Okay, so here's our moon. And of course, I think most of you know what the phase of the moon is here. We are just past first quarter, and a quarter is 0.25, and that's 1/4. The moon has just passed 1/4 of its way around the Earth, and so that's why it's called first quarter. Technically, full moon, when the moon is full, should be, well, I would say second quarter, half, right? And then when the moon is 3/4 of the way around, it's 3/4 or third quarter.
Yep.
And then finally, we have the no quarters or the new moon. But of course, we have special names for these in-between phases. After first quarter, we have the gibbous phase. We have a waxing gibbous, where the moon is getting bigger toward full. In between first quarter and full moon is the gibbous phases, and that's one of these right here that we're looking at. And then we have in the other side, after full moon, we have the waning gibbous phase, and that'll be with the when the moon's other side is going to be in the dark, on its way out. And so we get to see the changing shadows on the entire moon throughout the course. And once
May I expand on that a bit?
Oh, please do.
Okay, when the moon is past new, that is, you're seeing a waxing crescent in the evening sky. Okay, it's going to be a little farther east and a little fuller, growing a little bit every day. When the moon is half lit, at first quarter, that is, the moon will be due south at sunset. And the lit portion of the moon will be facing the west toward the sun. Second quarter is full moon, of course. That's when the moon is 180 degrees from the sun, as seen from Earth. And at third quarter, the moon, well, let me back up just a second. When the moon is at second quarter, or at full, that is, the moon will, by definition, the full moon will rise at sunset. and set at sunrise. It's 180 degrees across the sky from the sun.
Mm-hmm.
So the sun sets, the moon rises, the sun rises, the moon sets. At third quarter, the moon will rise at local midnight, and it will be due south at sunrise, and it will set at noon. And then at fourth quarter, which you're back to new moon again, well, the moon will not be visible because the dark side is facing us.
That's right.
And that's it. And one other interesting point. If you see a first quarter moon that is half lit or a third quarter moon that is half lit, well, if you compare that to the full moon, where both sides are lit, both halves are lit, you might think that it would be twice as bright when it's full as when it's at first or third quarter, but it's not. It's actually 9 times as bright at full. And why might that be? That's because at full moon, literally, you see no shadows on the face of the moon. It's all lit. Some people would say the shadows are directly behind the objects on the surface.
Mm-hmm.
But that's why a full moon is very flat looking. You don't see any relief at all.
Yeah, and that's why the full moon is sort of like the bane of moon watchers everywhere, because they want to see some details. Like, I mean, look at this is Copernicus crater right here. Okay, let me move into Copernicus here. Okay, here's Copernicus. You can see the shadow here. At the full moon, you don't see these shadows. You don't see the shadows in the mountains here outside of Copernicus. Okay, that's unfortunate because without the shadows, you don't really end up getting too good a feel for what you're looking at, and the depth is kind of missing. It's just really kind of bad. So you need shadows, and we all love shadows of the moon, and that's kind of important. So.
Plus, it's like a full moon through a telescope is like staring into a car headlight from about a foot away.
Yeah, and it's really no fun, is it?
It's not. I mean, it's blindingly bright. You can use a neutral density filter or such, of course, or polarizing filter, but
yeah,
just look at it full. I mean, that sucker's painfully bright, and it blows your night vision completely.
Yeah, good luck trying to see your way back to the house to get into the house. Even it's going to be really difficult.
Yep.
Let me just. I'm adding a little effect here. I'm just sharpening up a little bit just to see how far we can go. That's too much. I'm just going to back us off a little bit. We have the ability to actually, create some really nice images in SkyTour LiveStream. For those that have been here before, you've seen some of the really nice ones. Tara thanks you, Daryl.
I see that. Thank you, Tara.
Yeah. Tara's a sweetie. She's very nice to everybody. Never heard her say a bad thing about anybody. So this is the waxing gibbous moon, just past the first quarter. First quarter, the moon would have been lit to about here. And now we're past there when the shadow doesn't look straight anymore. It's on a curve. It's on the curve on the other side of the hemisphere of the moon. We will say that's a waxing gibbous. Now, what I really like about this part of the moon is that, again, at this point, before it's full, is the different colors that I pointed out before. This, I mean, it almost looks like the moon is made of some chocolate here, doesn't it? Somebody's melting chocolate to make cookies, right? Now, you see all the rays here from Copernicus? Apollo 12, I believe it's Apollo 12, landed right about here in one of the rays of Copernicus because they wanted to sample that material. And that material was give them some ideas about what was basically below the surface of the moon, because what struck got blasted out from deep inside the moon. So a lot of the science we learn comes from where we place our spacecraft on the surface, and also what we do when we look down at the moon with our orbiting spacecraft. The most famous one is the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, the LROC. Okay, and Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter has brought us an unbelievable view of our sister satellite. You know, when you look online and you look up the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter Quick Map, just put in LRO Quick Map, QUICKMAP, all one word, and look at the quick map. You can zoom into the moon down to seeing features that are only about 30 feet across, almost everywhere on the moon. And the data is being filled in where they don't have the high resolution yet. They're filling it in. So it's just amazing. Just amazing. And I've done streams where we actually teach people how to use the Quick Map browser with the ability to draw lines through a crater and then see a profile of how deep it is and everything. It's really very, very elaborate and beautiful. I think, Daryl, you were on the stream when we did the Quick Map browser, weren't you?
Oh, several times.
Yeah.
Can I make an observation here?
Please do.
You were just looking at Copernicus up there toward the, right there. Just look at how the rays look coming from the crater. It always looked like a big mud splat to me, like, you dropped a rock in a mud puddle.
That's right.
And then if you scroll down to the lower right, down to Tycho, there's Tycho, okay? And see, that does not look like a mud splat. That looks like something hit really hard and sprayed junk all over the place.
It does indeed.
I always wondered why they look so different.
Well, I have a feeling that there's a number of reasons why they look different. First of all, we know that the Copernicus impactor was bigger than the Tycho impactor by a little bit. Copernicus impactor made a terrace crater. It depends on the area. If you notice the area around here, okay, the area around here was relatively flat. The area where Tycho is actually relatively mountainous. All right, this crater struck in the highlands of the moon. There's different material here. Copernicus, it struck in the Maria, in a big, what they call a sea, right? Which isn't really a sea. So the craters will have some different morphologies. When we look at Copernicus and we see the terraced walls inside the crater, okay, we look in Tycho, we don't see it exactly like that at all. In fact, Tycho seems to just have a straight impact look. It has some kind of, shock structure here, but it doesn't have the same terraces that Copernicus does. And could it have been that it was a faster moving impactor? Well, maybe. If you look at how far out, this is one of the rays of Tycho right here. Right here. See, there's Tycho, and here's one of the rays of Tycho. Look at. All right, it goes way far out. Here's another one. Okay, way far out. Okay, we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of miles. And if you look in contrast, look at the Copernicus rays. None of the Copernicus rays go as far as the Tycho rays do. So that sort of implies that the strike here where Tycho was a higher velocity than the Copernicus strike. And the mishmash indicates that maybe what was struck was material that had possibly a high brittle factor, and the material down here at Tycho was a little bit more rigid when it struck, which could account for the nature of the crater's difference in look, the terrace versus non-terrace. So there's a number of papers actually about the morphology of Tycho versus Copernicus that talk about how the two differ. So it's actually a very, very good thing that you brought up, Daryl, because that's a tremendous observation. So thank you for bringing that up.
No worries.
Yeah. Hey, I want to say hello to Marianne Robb and to Stacy Wright. Stacy Wright is the director of MUFON for Arizona. I hope I got that right, Stacy. And Daisy and Zoe have joined us. That's nice. Good to see you guys. And Live Arizona Skies has joined us. Nice. We're getting some nice people here. We're looking at the moon tonight for a little while. Then we're going to head off to look at 2 of the fainter comets that happen to be in the northern sky. And I'm going to just check our all sky, make sure. Okay, we have a moon, and so those comets may not show that well, but we're going to try for them anyway. Let me just try to bring our adjust some levels here.
You know, something the bright moon's going to cause a problem with in a couple of days. The Eta Aquarid meteor shower is due to peak on the morning of the 5th. And the moon is going to be nearly full at that time, and it's going to lower the expected hourly rate for the meteors from like 40 or so down to maybe 10 or 15. So it's really going to play hob with the shower.
It will. Eta Aquarids are going to have to be viewed next year if you want to view them in any kind of dark sky. So I see Tara has said hello to Marianne and Stacy. Tara is, of course, also a member of the Mutual UFO Network in Arizona. So it's sort of like old home week now, you guys. All right, so okay, so Stacy is over at Marianne's house. Marianne, say hello to Don for me. That's Marianne's husband, Don. Don is a former firefighter, fantastic guy. And Marianne, of course, is a copper in Arizona, where they live, in a town nearby where they live. And she is, I wouldn't mess with her. I don't know. You know, she could probably rip my arm off. You never know what to look at her. You'd never think that much power could come from such a little tiny person. Yeah, I'm very brave out here, Marianne. I'm very brave in Connecticut. However, on June 22nd, I am flying out to Arizona again because phase 2 of the SkyTour LiveStream Observatory is going to go in. We are going to build the building out there, and we're also going to be putting in other lines. We're going to put in the electrical, hopefully, and get all of our ducks in a row to be able to give us internet and streaming capability out there. We're going to do a test of the streaming capability there, and if it's I actually think it's fast enough because I checked the upload speed out there, and the upload speed out there is actually faster than where we are right now, guys, which is kind of cool because it's out in the middle of the Sonoran Desert. So it's not bad. Not bad. We actually get to be able to stream at those kinds of rates out there. Looking forward to that. So we are checking out the moon here. I'm going to do one thing here. Let's try. Let's go and we're going to change the filter. So let's roll the wheel around. This is the narrowband filter, and now we're going to go to the slightly wider narrowband filter. And we're going to take an exposure that will give us a better look at the moon in a different set of wavelengths, which will help us. I'm going to also refocus. I have to figure out a way to auto adjust the focus so that whenever I go to a different filter, we will automatically refocus the telescope and I won't have to do it every time. But I don't mind doing it. I really don't. Okay, so let's go here. All right, and now let's focus. You're hearing the focus out in the dome. Yeah, I'm doing it right now. I'm just looking at the screen and focusing. It's getting better. All right, let's try that. And we're going to do a little bit longer exposure here and get us back to a regular view. And let's see how this works. Let's see, did that work? I think we could have done a little better. Definitely could do better. Yeah, we can do better. But just to show you what it looks like with a little bit of... I actually did some processing there, a little background processing being done. You couldn't really tell. Okay. So, that's good. Daryl, if you've got any other objects that you'd like to check out tonight too in the northern sky, or anywhere actually in the sky, let me know. We can do that. I think you're on mute.
I am on mute. Sorry about that.
Wow, I'm psychic.
Yeah. Oh, golly. We'll see. I know the moon is going to be a factor as far as, scoping out deep sky stuff.
Yeah, but we could be looking at maybe some clusters, some globulars and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Here's some nice globulars that are going to be coming up here. All right, we're going to run this out and then run it back in. Okay. And then once we go to focus on the stars, we're going to do this all over again because we have to. We just don't get the same focus. All right, let me bring us a little bit over here. Okay, and now we can shut off the focus view. See, I don't have to show you the focus view, but I like to. I like to show you everything that's going on. It's kind of cool, you know. So I thought you'd like that. Oh no, Marianne says that's right. You will be tased if you keep talking up. If I keep talking tough. Yeah. Okay.
Can we look for one or two of my favorite moon objects?
Sure. What would you like to look for?
Okay, first look down below Tycho.
Okay. I should probably go back to the white light view. Let me go back to the white light view. There's a spectral view, which doesn't really work when you're not using a slit spectrograph. Okay, here's the white light view. Let me drop the exposure to make it a little darker. And go focus one more time for Daryl. I'm doing this for you, Daryl.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You deserve it. You deserve a break today. Okay, head out and head in. Incidentally, to the folks, I'm going to be implementing an automatic focusing system that will automatically focus whatever is in the view. And that is something that is going to be implemented once I get out into Arizona. All right, this should be okay. Let's try that. All right, so you want to look down below Tycho.
A little below Tycho, looking for Clavius.
Ah. Okay. Let's take a picture. And let's go down and look for Clavius.
Okay, there it is. The larger crater to the lower right of Tycho. It has several smaller craters inside it. There you go.
Yep. Yes, from 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clavius crater is the rumored crater where the station was, right? The base. on Clavius.
Yep.
And where the monolith was.
The monolith was actually in Tycho, wasn't it? Tycho Magnetic Anomaly 1?
Yes, I think so. Yeah, that was TMA1. That's right. They flew the moon bus.
Yep.
Hey,
I
Richie.
just think Tycho Clavius is a neat crater. It's got kind of a curved row of smaller craters from small to big across it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
and then
really cool.
if you would look for one other thing, there's Clavius.
Yeah.
You see there's like 5 or 6 craters in a curved row there?
Yeah.
Yep. Go back to Tycho and look to its upper left. I'm not sure if we'll see it or not. I'm looking for Rupi's recta.
Oh.
The straight wall.
That's out in the Maria.
Is that it right there?
You're right here?
No, to the left of that, to the lower left of that.
Yeah, right here.
See that dark? No, that dark line over in that sea.
Over here?
Yes, right there.
This thing?
Is that the straight wall?
Ooh, boy, that's hard to tell from here. Hard to tell, but you know what? It might be. Let's go see. This is Mare Humorum. You know, the sea of moisture that we're looking in here. This is Mare Humorum. And this is Gassendi crater right here, which is kind of cool.
You see that dark line feature?
Right here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in on that at all?
Maybe. Let's see. That's what you're talking about? Yeah?
I think that's it. It's not a very good look at it. But,
No.
Rupi's recta changes from before full to after full.
Yeah.
When we're on one side, we see a narrow dark line, and then when the moon is on the other side after full, it turns into a bright line. And I always thought it looks like a sword when you see a sharp image of it. Looks almost like a cavalry saber or something.
Yeah. This is the crater Doppelmayr, and this is, I think this is Lee, and this is Vitello.
I think that's it. Anyway, sorry. Carry on, please.
Yeah.
Thank you for indulging me.
Sure, no, I do know that this is Rupi's Kelvin here. All right, so that's Rupi's Kelvin, which Rupi's is a scarp. It's a long a slope or a cliff, guys. So when you say Rupi's, R-U-P-E-S, that's what that means. And Daryl, you still are gonna have to get closer to the mic. I've got you up pretty loud.
Okay. I can try to go louder.
Tim F.
I'm at my usual settings.
All right. I don't know why it's having an issue, but
Let's try that. If that's too loud, let me know.
okay. It's not too loud, I can tell you that.
We shall see.
Yeah. And by the way, folks, we did Amanda did try to get here. She has not got here yet, but maybe she will join us. Yeah, I may need to do some more critical focusing here to get this to look better. It's possible. Very cool. Well, I enjoy doing this. I enjoy spelunking on the moon. Especially because the moon is so different. There's so much difference to the moon. And I never get tired of it, except full moon. I'm totally tired of. You know. So I don't know.
Well, there's just an overwhelming amount of detail on the moon. I cannot keep all the names straight.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a number of favorite objects.
I'm.
And there are specialists who, the moon is what they do, and they know the moon like their back of their hand, the back of their hand, and
Yeah.
basically anything you see on the surface of the moon has a name to it,
That's right. It
and
does.
anything they see, they know what they're looking at.
Yeah. I'm not. I'm not one of those people that knows every single thing I'm looking at. You know.
Me neither.
You know.
But I have some favorites.
Yeah. Actually, one of my favorites is right here. This little guy right here. This is Plato. Excuse me. Plato is about 60 miles across. This is Mare Imbrium, the Imbrium Impact Basin here. And Plato is here. It's not. It's actually not. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can refine the focus a little bit here, a little more. I'm gonna go up to Plato. I didn't say Play-Doh. I said Plato. Right. And now we're gonna go here. There's Plato right there. So I have Plato in the focus here, and I wanna try and bring that focus back to what I want it to be. So let's do that. And part of the problem is that we don't have perfectly still air tonight. And the air mass out in Arizona is going to be so much nicer. We'll be seeing a lot better views, even of the moon, which nobody likes. Nobody likes it, but we need it. All right, let's try this.
Oh, the moon is cool.
Yeah, it is.
And kids like it.
Yeah, no doubt. Kids like the moon. And I don't take away from them that they can like the moon. Well, that looks pretty. That looks pretty. I think the focus is a little better now. Look at this right here. See that line right there? Next to Plato?
Yes, I do.
And that thing is it's actually, that's Valles Alpes, I believe. Valles, we have Montes Alpes, so in Valles Alpes, that's basically Alpine Valley, is what that means. That this is the valley right here. Yep. So that's really pretty. And then we have, of course, out here we have Mons Pico, which is right below Plato. And then Piton, I believe, is right here. Is that Piton? That's Piton, right?
You say so.
You know this.
Well, if I knew, I forgot.
Okay.
The one other thing I really like is that promontory right there to the lower left of Plato.
Right here?
Yes.
Yeah, that's really pretty.
There's a couple actually, and you pointed at the other one too.
Yeah.
And I forget their names offhand. I'd have to look them up.
Well, let's see. That's is that Sinus Iridium over here?
Could be.
And Mare Imbrium here. Sinus Iridium, and we are looking at that's Laplace.
Okay. Yes, that's right.
Okay, and then down here, this one is Heraclides.
Okay.
Promontorium Heraclides. Okay.
One of my favorite objects is not quite visible yet. It might be visible by tomorrow night. That's Aristarchus.
Aristarchus, yeah.
I'm endlessly fascinated by that place. That's the brightest spot on the moon, and there's a
Yeah.
really neat valley next to it called Schroeder.
Well,
Right.
and
Another crater next to Aristarchus called Herodotus.
that's right. Aristarchus is over here.
Yes.
So let's go see it. We can see it. I'm going to take a longer exposure. Let's say half a second. There we go. And now we come back. Let's see if we can... Okay, not quite long enough. It's going to be too contrasty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the ISO. All right, and go up even more. And if the glare doesn't kill us, we should be able to see it. So I'm gonna try and bring us up to this. Yeah, you see, you can see the other side of the moon right now.
Yep.
So let's, and there's a star right there. Let me bring that up so you can see it. Here's a star. Here's the other side of the moon that's yet to be lit. Why we see this at all has to do with a phenomenon called earth shine. And let's go even more. And we'll take a picture and see if we can see Aristarchus glimmering in the dark. Might be tough. Okay, there's some stars. I don't think we can see it yet, unless it's really kind of in here and close.
Yeah, I think we may have to wait a day to see it.
Yeah, but it's kind of cool, huh?
It is, sure.
I mean, this sort of looks like an old science fiction thing with, like, Jules Verne's, what was it, From Earth to the Moon, is it? What was that? That Jules Verne story? First Men in the Moon? No, what was it?
I think. There was a movie called The First Men on the Moon, which I think was a takeoff from Jules Verne.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And From the Earth to the Moon or something like that.
Yeah. Hey, David Schmidt. Welcome.
Hello, David.
I want to say hi to Rover. Rover 7377. Welcome, man. Come on out and join the fun. DK0018. Great to see you. This is neat when you see the stars, too, because, the whole moon is here. And this kind of actually reminds me also of, like, how Galileo sometimes drew the moon. He just big white thing with little craters in here and stuff, but then he would draw it like this. Because with your eye, you can see, depending on the phase, you can actually see the darker, unlit yet side. So it's really cool. But, yeah, we're not quite there. We can't really see Aristarchus right now because the glow is overwhelming.
Yeah, that's fine.
But
thank you for indulging me.
I tried. I wanted to see if we could do it. I did. And we should be leaving the moon here shortly. Now we come down to what our eyes see. All right, and now I will do one more thing because I think this is the right time to do this. Let's bring the moon back into the center view here. And then I want to bring it up. And let's go see if we can get another shot now that we refocused a little bit. And see if we can come down and see if we can get that straight wall. All right. And the way you're going to do it is by making shorter exposures. But they have to be, we have to get rid of as much noise as possible. So maybe we'll do this. Okay, let's try that. So 100th of a second at 64. Okay, that's starting to look a little better, don't you think? Yeah, there's... Is that what you're talking about, Daryl? Hold on.
Sorry, muted again. Yes, I believe that's it.
Yeah, there we are. DK wants to know how you're feeling.
DK, I have my good days, my bad days. I'm feeling semi-okay at the moment. I'm kind of flagging, actually.
Well, Daryl, you're not bound by any stretch of the imagination to hang out if you need to go to sleep and whatever, because you do so much for SkyTour LiveStream and SkyTour Radio. So I don't have any problem if you need to bail at any point.
I'll let you know. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Yeah. What are we going to look at after the moon?
Well, I think we're... Oh, that's so beautiful. Look at that. Is that a Tycho ray?
It is.
Yeah.
Almost anything you see down in that part of the moon would be a Tycho ray.
So
I'd like to see a really good close-up of the middle of Tycho sometime. There's supposedly a big, huge boulder sitting on top of the central peak in Tycho.
There is, actually, and the LRO Quick Map browser, you can see it.
Yeah, I think we looked for it once.
Yeah. Actually, do I dare? I don't know if I can do it, but maybe. Let me... Okay, let's just hold on a second, guys. You guys just hang out for a minute. And I will look and see if it makes sense to try this. Okay. Alrighty, okay, so... Okay, here we go. I'm going to do this now. I got to figure out a way to make this work. I'm going to my generic full screen, guys. I'm going to try and locate one of my not that one. That was our operations. It won't be that one. Okay, you know what I'll do? I will add, let's say, window capture. Okay, hold on. All right. Okay, not that one. I'm just trying to grab this and bring it in. I think that may be kind of cool to show it. Okay. Ta-da. All right. Here we go. Let's, this is, I assume you guys can see that okay. All right, this is the Quick Map browser. And let me pull this down. Oh, it doesn't want to come down, so that's what I got. Okay. All right. All right. So you can see that, guys. This is the moon. This is the Quick Map browser. And what Daryl was saying was that Tycho crater, which is right down here, if we can zoom in, he says there's a big boulder sitting on top of the central peak. Okay, and you'll see how the imagery comes in. And let's see now. See how much detail you can see? Is that your boulder, Daryl?
Might be.
Well, let's get closer. Now, you guys, when we look at the moon, we see it through our telescopes. We're looking at it through atmosphere. The Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter takes these pictures from 30 to 60 miles above the moon. So now, we are looking now at a resolution of 0.5 meters per pixel. So that means that this object here is pretty large. Let me actually move this to here so you can see this side over here. These things over here. First of all, there is you can pick the projection you want to the moon. I didn't intend to do the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter tonight, but while we're here, we're talking about craters and Pluto, Tycho, and these are specific things that you can pick. There's geologic features. You can look at swirls and scarps and really interesting stuff. Craters like Copernicus and so forth, and they'll be highlighted, and you can go check them out. And again, there's so much you can do. Now, as well, there's something else we can do here. We can do this as well. This is the lunar globe in 3D, and now it's not as high as resolution as the other, but what you can do now is this. You can move the moon around and go like zoom down into Copernicus if you like, and you wait a second and the resolution clears up, and you zoom in and the resolution clears up. Okay, and you get to see all this detail, and then you get down to the smallest resolution. It doesn't quite go to the same 0.5 meters per pixel, all right, but it gets pretty close, all right, and you're rotating a 3D globe the whole time. And there's more to it. You can also do a few other really fun things. You can actually pick a spot to rotate around, and now, okay, hands off, you can actually rotate around Copernicus. You can change the altitude, how close you are, how far you are. All right, a lot of really cool things you can do. Isn't that neat? Yeah, I know I'm blowing your minds right now, but this is actually one of the newer features of the Quick Map browser, right? And this is really very nice. The lunar globe, again, doesn't have the same level of detail, but you can come into here and do things like this. Okay, you can be inside Copernicus crater and watching the central peak roll around. We don't need to have this in the way either. We can just get out of the way there. See, and it actually goes at a set speed, but you can move it like this. Look at that right there. Look at those boulders tumbling off the central peak there. Isn't that not cool? So, so you see, this is what you can do with this, and it's really cool to catch to get the 3D nature. For instance, if we were to go to say, oh, I'm stuck in that mode. Sorry. If we were to go to say Plato, all right, and you say, all right, when we go to Plato, oops, sorry. Come on, get out of there. We go to Plato, okay, what we want to do, I want to move this thing now. What happened? Reset. Reset immediately. Okay, let's see if this will set it. Okay, thank you. All right, let's say we go to Plato over here, okay? You can come right down into Plato. And, as I said, it's 60 miles across, all right? And if you look at it and say, oh, it's 60 miles across, what does that mean for me? How does 60 miles across look? Well, this is basically what you can do. Let me, I want to rotate us like this. And you come down in here, right? Now you're inside of the crater Plato, okay? And you look around and you say, oh, wow. So this is kind of how it looks. And, of course, the better imagery filters in. And you can see what it looks like to be inside the crater of Plato looking around. Isn't that crazy? It's just beautiful. You know? And it's actual imagery.
Oh.
What was that?
Interesting, I think there looks like a big wedge broke off the lip of the crater.
Oh, where? Down here? Or
No, up higher. Right
up,
there.
up here? Oh,
Yeah,
this.
that right there, yeah. See the
Yeah,
big split behind it at one point?
I do. Now you see, Plato is very prominent. You know, when you look at Plato, you can't miss it. But you know what's interesting about Plato is that when we back out of it, okay, go this way. We back out of the crater Plato, and I lost myself. I ended up on the wrong place. Okay, so if we back out of the crater Plato, one thing that you really find interesting is that when you, like, say you're down here, right? If you're at this place here, right, or at Mons Pico, okay, when you come in and you put yourself down on the lunar terrain right here, you'll notice you can't tell there's a crater out there somewhere, and that's actually Plato's crater. That's Plato, but you can't tell it's there. You know. And that's really kind of cool that it does that, you know. You actually get to see what a 2,000-mile moon feels like to be involved with. So, okay, so this is kind of how this works, all right? And like when we look at our moon, we can look at it this way with this lunar 3D globe, and that means the far side too, by the way. You can see all the far side stuff too. Okay. All the way down to Aitken Basin down here, which is the lowest spot on the moon, right about there. The highest spot on the moon is right about there, actually. And it's because of the impact with Aitken Basin. And you also notice that inside the Aitken Basin, there's actually down below the surface is the remains of the object that impacted the moon there. Really phenomenal work. You can get all kinds of overlays. You can see the moon in a variety of looks and ways, and I think that it's pretty cool to do that. Now, if we wanted to say draw something, let's say you wanted to. Let's go back to Plato because I was talking about it. Let's say you want to figure out how big Plato is. You draw a line across Plato. Okay. And then over here on the left, here is the profile. And you'll notice on the screen, you're seeing a yellow dot move through Plato. That's where your cursor is. And it tells you how far above or below the mean radius of the moon you're located. And if we come back in here and we actually were to shift it this way, you'll see that line, right, is going to follow the contour of the moon, which is really, really neat. So there's a lot going on. Oh, there's that valley we saw in our photo a little while ago. So, in any case, that's the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter Quick Map Browser. There's way more stuff you can do. And what I'd like to do, Daryl, before we get out of this, is come back down. Let me get us back to the regular view. Okay. And now when we come down here, okay, we go down toward Tycho. All right. And we see Clavius right here once again. And right here should be the straight walls, what you were telling me before, right?
If I wasn't wrong. I sure don't see it there.
Okay. And what was its actual name?
Rupes recta.
Rupes recta.
RUPES
Yeah.
RECTA.
Okay. Well, let's see here. Um, let's see if we can. I want to search. Whoa, how do I search? I just want to search. Oh, maybe I gotta have. Let me do this. Let me turn on the layers. Let me turn on the nomenclature layer. Okay. And then we should see. Let me turn on the nomenclature. Okay. Yeah, I don't see rupees recta here.
Can you back out a little bit?
Yes.
A little more? Looking, I don't see it.
Is it in Mare Humorum?
Look up right dead center in your screen right now.
Right here?
No. No. Okay, you got it in a little closer and I don't see it now.
I wonder if it's... There it is. It's over here.
There it is.
Rupees recta. Yep. Okay, now knowing that, let's go back to here. And let's go see if we can, in fact, see rupees recta. And I imagine we probably can. But let's go ahead and bring this up. Oh, wait a second. All right, here we go. Now let's bring it up. All right. Check focus. As the temperature changes, the focus also changes. That's another problem that we have with telescopes. All right. Drive kicks in. Actually, we're pretty close. All right. All right. So now we're going to go and was rupees recta over here? Well, why don't we go find out? Let's go back here and see where rupees recta is. Okay. I'm going to look. 1 second while we grab that screen again. Okay, so let's back out of this. Okay, so it's basically above Tycho, and we're going to have Bert here, and that's where we'll see it. Okay, so we come back, and it should be above Tycho over here. So it's up around here. That's fascinating. Look at that color. Isn't that cool?
It is.
Oh, are we near it? I know it's here somewhere. It's really hard to see. We're not at the same phase, you know?
Right.
Is that it?
That looks awful soft.
Yeah. It does. It does. We should see a little crater next to it if it's actually there. There should be a little crater to its left. That's the little crater. No, there's a little crater to its left. So that is it. It's just that it's we don't have a good contrast here. There it is. You can see it right there, Daryl. Right there, see?
I think so.
That's the wall. Okay. Well, we found a few things here on the moon, and we had some fun poking around. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go look for some other things, which I think we'll have some fun with. First things first, I am going to bring up our other method for controlling the telescope, which is this guy here. I was hoping to start the stream earlier and see if we can see Vesta, but Vesta was way behind the house, unfortunately. You know?
It happens.
Yeah. Okay, so here is Stellarium.
Mark, right there, that reminds me of something I've been meaning to mention to you. Astro Backyard on YouTube, that Canadian astrophotographer.
Oh, yeah.
He got some addendum to Stellarium that he actually inlaid his local surroundings, like, his neighborhood, all the trees and houses surrounding him.
Yeah, I've done that actually. That's actually.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, you can do it. It's part of the plugin. You can actually do that.
Oh,
it's
I
really
just thought
nice.
that was pretty neat. I've been meaning to ask you about that, and I forgot.
It's really neat. I mean, we can actually, we can actually see a few things now. We have the Great Cluster in Hercules over there we can look at, M13. It's 40 degrees above the horizon now, so that's actually not bad. And this is the Big Dipper up here and the Little Dipper down here. And of course, our favorite bear is right there. And then Camelopardalis is here. It actually isn't very. That's where the comets are. I'm not sure that we would actually be able to see those too well actually right now. But hey, at least we can get a few other things here. Things that we can see with the telescope that. Maybe the Great Star Cluster in Hercules. Should we look for that?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to find out whether my telescope's alignment. I struck the dome with the telescope earlier tonight. So if it's messed up, we're going to find out. But I got to go out there, okay, and move the dome.
Okay.
So if you can manage this raucous crowd here that is here tonight. There's just a lot of wild and crazy people here, you know. We actually have 54 watching, so I'm really pleased you guys are hanging out. Thanks for coming. So I'll be right back, okay? I'm going to go out to the dome and take care of that.
Very good.
Here we go.
Try to hold down the fort.
I'm also going to make some control changes while I'm out there, so you'll see things happening.
That asterism you're looking at right there, where his indicators surrounding M13 globular cluster, that's the upper part of the constellation Hercules. That's called the keystone, just like the keystone in an arch, from the shape of it. Kind of a wedge, or kind of what would you call that? A trapezoid. It's just like the keystone in any arch you see anywhere, the stone at the very top of the arch, which helps spread the load and maintain the shape of the arch. That's called the keystone of Hercules, right there. And M13, Great Globular Cluster, is on the west side of the keystone. and it is. When I was younger and had good eyes, I thought you could actually see the nebula barely naked eye. And if I ever could, I haven't in a long time. But that is the best globular cluster in the northern sky, and hopefully we'll get a good look at it here in a second. I see you, Mark. It's really spectacular. It's hundreds of thousands of stars all gathered into a ball shape. Boy, who knew astronomy could be so noisy? That's mead for you. Meads sound like coffee grinders when they're slewing. I mentioned before, if you think M13 and Hercules looks cool, hundreds of thousands of stars all clumped together. There's one down in the southern sky. I saw down from near the Mexican border in New Mexico back in '94 when I went down there to see the annular solar eclipse from El Paso. It's called Omega Centauri, and it's like Jesus, 10 Hercules clusters all put together. It's like 4 million stars all in a ball, and it's just absolutely spectacular. It's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. It was sitting about 8 or 10 degrees above the horizon, and it was about the size of the moon in the sky. Or imagine you were holding not a tennis ball, maybe a ping pong ball between your thumb and finger at arm's length. I mean, it was that big up in the sky. 4 million stars all clustered together. It's absolutely beautiful. Oh, goodness.
All right.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Thank you. And I noticed that
there it is.
There it is. Yeah, let me just remember I'm taking the picture through a filter, so I have to actually, am I? Oh, we're doing this, so I've got it's gonna be bigger now. Okay. Wow. Let's go see what I'm using for a filter. This is Measure 13, the Great Cluster in Hercules, and I want to get us to the spot where we can look at it with a little bit more light, which is easy enough. I just have to I'm taking a picture at a ISO of 500, and I'm actually going to set this up to 3200 right there, and we're going to go 25 seconds. All right, and here we go. I actually I was watching the telescope move to the object, and I had to make sure that it was going to actually get there, because I had struck the dome, and I thought I might have screwed up the alignment of the telescope. Turns out I didn't. It was fine.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah. Okay, so we're doing a white light shot. So no filter. All right. You can see the beauty of these stars. They're just in white light. You can see the stars for what they are. They're actually a very they're older stars. Okay, and they're like a exploding snowball of stars. Amanda's well, I invited her and she said she would try to make it, but apparently she must not have. So we tried. Yeah. Trish D, hi. I didn't say hi to you before. Hello, Trish and Rascally Rabbit. I said hi to Flames. Yeah, Tara, it is beautiful. You know, and again, we're taking this in white light, so we're not seeing it, the colors slanted in any way. These are the colors that you would see. Not to your eye, because your eye can't see points of light in color like dim clusters. Okay, you'd see them more as one color. You'd see bright stars like Betelgeuse. You'll see that as, to your eye, you'll see that as an orangey star, but you won't see faint clusters like this with any other colors other than the ones you could catch with a telescope. Now, Daryl, where's the propeller? And tell people what that is.
Well, okay. The propeller is a dark feature inside the cluster. We might need to zoom in a little bit. I don't see it yet.
I see that we did drag a little bit. So before you do that, I'm just going to go grab another photo. Okay, that's underway, and I'll come back now to our view.
I assume these stars all look yellowish because they're older stars.
Because what?
Because they're old.
Yes.
And they're all about the same age.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's a wonderful cluster in Puppis, which has what looks like a planetary nebula in a young cluster. And it's one of our favorites here. And it looks that way because of the fact that the star evolved and died, basically, and left a planetary nebula behind. But it's not like it was a young star. It was an old star. It just happens to be superimposed over the cluster. It's literally 2,000 light years closer to us than the cluster, which is 4,000 and change light years away. Do you see the propeller, Daryl?
Not yet. Can you zoom in a little more?
It's almost like a Rorschach test.
I usually don't have any trouble.
Tell you what, let me take the photo with one of the filters. I'm wondering if maybe you're being thrown off because you're seeing a variety of star color.
Okay.
All right, so we'll come back, grab this, and now what we're going to do is we're going to bring up the telescope control and come down here. We are in the white light, so I am actually going to go to the narrowband filter and then go past it to the slightly wider narrowband filter. And I'll probably have to refocus, but I will take the picture and see what it looks like first.
To continue what I started a minute ago, I spaced out there. Sorry. The propeller is it's a sort of a dark feature. Some people see inside the cluster. It looks like a three-bladed propeller, just like an outboard motor propeller. The shape of it.
Okay. Oops. I guess I should have refocused.
3 blades to the propeller, and each one's kind of fat, you know.
Yep. Okay. Did I What happened here? Why didn't I get my... Oh, I can see why. Alright. That's this guy. Alright, you know what I gotta do? I have to do a couple things here in order to make this work. Number one, I have to refocus. So let's refocus and find me a star. Okay, you're a star. Alright, here we are. Okay, so this star is up right there. So I gotta bring the star down. And that's the star I'm gonna focus on. Alright, and here we go. Focusing, commencing. Okay. You can see that that's become a lot sharper. Alright, and now I'm gonna go up in the ISO a little bit by 2 stops. And no, let me just go right up to 10,000 for 25 seconds. And away we go. Then we'll get off of this focusing mode. Back here. And it'll be brighter now. Alright, here we are. And because it's on an angle, the telescope is sort of angled over. It tends to do that. See, it tends to rotate the view, and we don't want the rotated view, but we have no choice. I would actually like to tell the camera not to do that, and I have, but it's being an idiot and it's still doing it. It's just crazy. All right, so let's do this. Let me bring the cluster back in. Let's actually do that. I want to bring it in. So, okay, so let's go up here. I'm going into a 4K video mode so I can see the cluster. You can see it right here. Kinda. I can see it a little better, I think. There, you see it. And then I'll center it up. And then I gotta wait about 15 seconds for the stars to reacquire a guide star. And it'll be all set. Okay. All right. So we're going to let it reacquire. And why is it? It's stuck in a mode. All right. 1 second, guys. I'm going to make a change. Okay. Everything I'm doing is for, well, okay, I'm trying to figure out how I will get this to do what it's supposed to do. Yeah. Okay, when this is actually out in Arizona, I have a way to shut the camera off and turn it on. It's stuck in a mode, and I have to do that. So in order to turn the camera off, I'm going to have to go out there and do it in the dome. I wouldn't have to do that. However, Wouldn't have to do that like once it's out there, but right now I have to. So I apologize for that. I will be right back. Daryl, you can handle it, right?
Hopefully.
All right, I'll be right back.
Adventures in Live Astronomy, folks. M13 globular cluster, if I remember correctly, actually I think APOD, Astrophoto of the Day by NASA, showed this a day or two ago. M13, we radioed a message in the direction of M13 back, it's been a long time. I want to say maybe in the 70s. It was sort of a pictogram, what would you call it? It was like big blocky pixels, and if whoever might receive the message would have to crunch numbers and figure out like the size, the dimensions, where to, like how many rows across and how many rows down or columns. But you could construct an image from the radio message they shot toward M13 that showed a human figure, a very blocky sort of a stick figure, and the what else was on it? I forget what all was on it. I think a DNA helix was on it, and I forget what else. Always struck me as kind of odd that they would shoot that to M13, because M13 is like, I want to say, it's very far away, 13,000 light years away or something like that. Somebody might get the picture one day, and if they can decode the image for how to lay it out, they may get a really blocky, funny-looking idea of the people who sent it to them. That one looks nice. Again, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of stars in a ball shape right there, like a snowball, like Mark said.
Yes, beautiful snowball. Okay, that was a... When I went out there and I saw what the camera was displaying, I realized that is definitely something that I would be able to handle with no problem. Oh, look at that.
That's pretty.
Yeah, thank you guys for putting up with that. Okay, so yeah, this is this is the beautiful Messier 13 found by Charles Messier. And it was actually an object to be avoided by Messier, who was a comet hunter. And these guys, like Messier, they would look at something like the globular cluster here and say, oh, that's not a comet, so forget it. Pretty crazy,
Yeah. Well, Messier, I would like to think, they had it wasn't as simple as, hey, it's not a comet, so what? But they could still appreciate it for what it was. It was just a notation on the list for future astronomers, that, hey, just in case you find this thing, this is not a comet. But hopefully, they could still appreciate the beauty of it in its own right.
Sure.
Messier didn't have a very good telescope, too.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like about a 4-inch aperture scope.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of the things on his list are just, little gray cloud or little smudge of light.
Yeah. So, do you see your propeller now? Or do I need to maybe rotate it?
I think I see it in that image right there.
Okay.
From the center of the cluster to just a little bit to the lower left. Just a little bit.
Okay. So is it within here? Is it in here?
Okay, I see it right there. You're on it right now. That's one of the blades of the propeller.
Right there.
There's another one about 120 degrees to the left,
Okay.
and then one pretty much pointing straight up. I do believe that is the propeller.
So here, here, and here.
No. Uh,
Well, this one.
oh, yes.
Okay.
Okay, that's lower left, and then go up, and then down lower right. There's another, and then there's one maybe a little less distinct going straight up.
Okay, I see it here,
Yeah.
here, and here.
Yep, that's it.
So you're learning some astronomy, guys. That and the guiding is still not quite perfect. I haven't tuned it tonight, but I figure, the other thing we've got going on, which I have to share with you, is our nasty clouds. Sadly, this is right here. Okay, here's the observatory. Here you can't see farther down, but there's the house. There's the observatory. That is the moonlight illuminating the clouds. And as you can see, that was the next exposure. So we've got clouds moving in. So it really is kind of just maddening that we have clouds coming in. It's such a beautiful night, So I am sorry about that, but we will do our best to make up for it somehow. Don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm going to try. So in any case, you can see clouds down there, and that's actually the north. This is the south, and the west is over here. This is the south. So they're moving across. So we'll stick it out for as long as we can. All right. And that's why our views aren't that clear tonight of the moon either. I was wondering why we couldn't get that focus right, and it turns out it was because there are light clouds. Hey, Genghis, how are you? What's going on? All right, let's just see if we can take a 30-second shot. I don't want to do a 1 minute here with the moon out. Drop it by 1. So this will be the same as the other shot. So just so you know, one of the things to understand about photography, if you don't already, is that if you increase the exposure by 1 setting and decrease the sensitivity, the ISO, by 1 setting, it's equal. All right? There's no change to your picture, except the lower the ISO, the less noise is in your picture. The higher the ISO is this value that is set by the sensitivity of the camera, the sensor. That ISO setting is something that is very, very well. It's painfully sensitive. You wanna get a great high ISO shot, but you don't want the noise. And never the twain shall meet. You always have noise. So what I mean by noise is I'm shooting at an ISO right now of 8,000. So if I zoom in, you can see the noise. All right. Now in the previous shot, that was at 10,000. Okay. Look at the difference in the noise. See the noise here and see the noise here. Okay. It's less. All right. Now that noise thing is, again, it's something that you have to work with. The blue glow here is not the filter, it's the moon. The moon is causing this blue glow. We can effectively get rid of the blue glow. We can actually deal with it a little better. If I go to this other filter, the narrow band, okay, and I go up, say, to 12,800, and then set us at, that should be the 1 minute, I believe. Let's see if it is. Yeah, 1 minute. Okay. And take a minute shot. Then we've gone up by 3 stops. We've gone up from 10,000. Well, actually, I think 2 stops from 10,000. We've gone up to 12,000, 8,000 rather, to 10,000 to 12,800. We go up by 2 sensitivity stops, and then up to a minute from 30 seconds. All right, and so we should now have several. We should have a better view. But you know what? Again, we're using a narrowband filter, and narrowband is going to produce a different look. We're only going to get certain stars that are going to be bringing their light in at those frequencies. You know. Hey, Kathy Prentice is here. How you doing? Papa Tom, how are you? Nice to see you. Yeah, look at the difference here. Now, when we look at this, okay, we see how the cluster, it looks kind of more uniform. I see 1 minute. Again, I haven't refined the guiding, so we don't have perfect star images. These are not stars. This is additional noise. All right. And because of the clouds, I can't expect that they're going to, go away anytime soon. But I am going to take one more shot just to see if I can do a little better. And then maybe we can hop up to M92 from here. And I'm going to synchronize. Okay, I synchronize my stellarium view with the telescope view. Okay, and now let's see what we get here. See if we got a little better guided view. I can't stand clouds. I was checking the weather guys for SkyTour LiveStream West. And here's what's weird. When you look at SkyTour LiveStream West versus out here, the weather is amazing, okay? Just from Phoenix, Mesa, Gilbert, Surprise, and there's a town called Surprise, Arizona. And then going a little bit more west by about 30 miles into the desert, you go from a cloudy day to a clear day. And we're going to be at 2,000 foot elevation. It's not perfect. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination regarding altitude. We'd love to be at 9,000, 10,000, but it is a much more beautiful sky. And at 2,000 feet, we do have more clarity. So I'm looking so forward to that. June 24th, we should be building the building out there. I say we. I've got a crew that's coming out to actually erect the building. And they're going to build it to our specification. It was originally a 12-foot by 12-foot building with 6-foot walls and a separate roof that's going to roll off. Well, now it's going to be a 10.5 foot by 10.5 foot, maybe 11 feet by 11 feet, but 10.8 by 10.8, say, with a roll-off roof. But the walls are going to be 5 foot 5 inches tall. The reason is because there's going to be additional hardware on top of the roof, on top of the walls, rather, that's going to carry the weight of the roof. And there's going to be rails that the roof is going to slide on. And this means that we're actually going to have a better view toward the horizon. So, Daryl, it might be that Omega Centauri will be in our view, after all.
Good.
I hope.
If I was going that far south, I'd sure want to see Omega Centauri.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I might have told some of you folks as well that if the luck holds out, we may also have a renter for the second pier already in the telescope, in the observatory. So, and we'll talk all about that when I get confirmation.
Super duper.
Yeah. Let's check our all sky and see just how bad it's getting. Oh, brother. Yeah, I don't hold much hope for the shot that I'm taking right now.
Clouds have it.
The cloud, yes. The eyes have it, and of course the eyes are made of clouds. So, guys, I do want to say thank you for coming along. As you can see, the photos are getting worse and worse. And what's funny is I was looking at the moon saying, how come I can't take a sharp photo of the moon? And as it turns out, it was because there were light clouds over the moon that were causing some havoc with the image. Well, look, we did manage to squeak out 2 hours, 12 minutes, 57 seconds of stream. I want to thank you guys for coming. And I know that I'll be back the next clear night. And even if it's another moonlit night, anything other than full moon's just too bright. Yeah, at least it's not. At least it's not one of these super moons, so I don't have to worry about that. And what is the super?
The full moon is a super moon this month.
See, you spoil all my fun.
Sorry.
No, you don't. No, okay. And the supermoon occurs when the moon, which has a slightly elliptical orbit, is closer to the Earth when it's a full moon by a little bit. And the moon can be a few percentage points bigger. In fact, up to 13% bigger, depending on the approach. And of course, there are people that will make all kinds of statements about the moon being so bright. Oh no, why is the moon getting so bright? I actually had somebody say to me once that the moon's getting so much brighter. The sky and the sun is getting brighter, and it's going to spell doom for the planet. I laughed in their face. I really felt bad about doing it, but I just laughed out loud, and they looked at me in horror. I thought they were kidding, to be honest. And when I realized they weren't, I felt kind of like a fool. But yeah.
Some people, you just can't.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the gal on YouTube years ago who was spraying water out of a garden hose. She had a nozzle on the hose, and she was producing a really nice little rainbow, and
Right.
she started freaking out. Oh my God! Look what they're putting in our water now. It's government conspiracy.
Oh my gosh.
And all she was doing was what any little kid should have learned instinctively when he played with the water hose out in the yard.
Yeah.
All sorts, I guess.
While we're waiting, I say before closing out, again, it's, I marked just one more object, the Antonio. Dave Schmidt asked a question about the LROC quick map browser that he would like to see answered, and he was saying, what do you do? I'll take off nomenclature. He says, where did you find those other things, those other features that you were talking about?
There's a straight wall right there.
Yeah, that's this one right here, yeah.
Yep.
And we turn on nomenclature, and you see Rupees Recta right there. That's Rupees Recta. Yep. So when we talk about being able to go and find our way to different places on the moon, and let's see, this is the regular thing there. I think we had to be here, David. So what you do, David, if you want to do that rotating around the crater thing, that orbiting around the crater feature, don't worry, it's coming. What we do is we get into the lunar globe here, which is, why is this? There we go. Okay, you get into what you do is this: you start from here. Okay, so when you first open it up, okay, you are going to be at this place here. You're going to be on the near side orthographic view. Okay, you're not going to have nomenclature up. I accidentally clicked on it again to show Daryl Rupees Recta. This is what you're going to see. Okay, and you may not even see this. You may see actually none of this. You might see this. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to click on Switch Projections, which is the top sphere, the top little Earth, and when it comes out, you're going to pick Lunar Globe 3D, and when you do, watch what happens over on the right. Okay, which, in order to show you that, I'm going to have to shrink this down a little. Okay, so now watch what happens on the right when you pick Lunar Globe 3D. You hit that, and all of a sudden you get some more choices over here. And those are the choices you're talking about, David. All right. Oh, you did find it, yeah. Yeah, you just have to make sure you get in that Lunar Globe 3D. So let's suppose you want to come in here now, and you want to like zip around in this crater, right? So you pick that button, all right? And now I think that I want to move to a different crater here. Just a minute. Okay. So I'm here. And if I'm down here now and I want to circle around this crater, that's when I pick this guy. And it... Okay, there's a bug. How about that? There's a bug in the system. It actually goes... I think I had to... I might have to like do that little reset that I just did. I've been talking to these guys about this system. See, now I can do it. Now, Daryl, see this? This looks like your splash type situation. See how this looks like a splash?
Yes.
You know, what's interesting about this is that when we're looking at these features on the moon, when there's an impact that hits with great intensity, all right, we're seeing the finished product here. But there's several processes that take place during the creation of a crater. Some of them last seconds, some of them last a few minutes. Okay, first there's the actual crater that's made, but there's also a transient crater. The transient crater is the one that's when you first get struck by an asteroid or another object. The object was probably maybe this big, okay, maybe a little smaller, but it hit at very high speed. And when it hit, it made a gigantic hole, right? A very, very big, deep, hollowed out hole in the first few seconds. Then, after it struck, the infill started to happen. The rest of the material from around started to collapse back into the crater. Shock waves were generated. Some of these shock waves can make rings about half the, not in this particular crater, but about half the distance from the central peak to the outside edge of the crater. You might see a ring all the way around the inside. And these concentric rings were created by the shock waves. And what's funny is when it happens, the moment that meteor strikes the moon, it liquefies in a sense. It makes the soil act like a liquid for a period of time. We call that liquefaction. And that effect will actually cause what looks like splashes, okay, but they're not splashes. They're actually solid rock and other material that is undergoing this liquefaction for sometimes just a few seconds, but long enough. And then when it freezes after that, then you get the features that you see like this. Also, if you look inside this particular crater, you'll notice it looks like it has a flat bottom. There's a couple of reasons for that. Number one, material could have filled in the crater as time went on and eroded, or during the time of impact, maybe an infill collapse during this time caused this to fill in. All right, but it's also possible that the impactor broke through and molten magma came up to the surface and flowed like lava around the inside of the crater. That's a possibility as well. So you only know that by analyzing what's inside the crater, analyzing this rock. And you can do it from space by looking at a telescope that's equipped with a device that can look at the spectra of the light being reflected off of this rock here, this area, versus, say, this area or this area. And you can tell the difference between the material in here. You know, does it have like a feldspar type base? What's it? Is it olivine? What is it? You know, what kind of an igneous, as in volcanic rock, is it? And so you would use that to try and deduce what actually happened inside this crater and how it was made. So there's a lot of ways that you can actually get this to work. Okay, so when we look at the LROC Quick Map browser, especially when we have a lunar phase out there, we might actually go right ahead and bring up the Quick Map browser in the background and rush over to it and check out a few things there before going back to our photo taking of the moon. It's pretty neat. So what is this crater that I was using as a subject here? I want to see what that was. I know why it doesn't do it. Hey, what's going on? Oh, Aristillus? I think that was Aristillus. I'm not sure, Daryl. It might have been.
Me neither.
Yeah, Aristillus. Yeah, really cool. Hey, look, if it's cloudy, this is. I like to do this. I like to spend time doing this if I can. Now we are actually, in a 3D mode here, so this is what it's like to be kind of going over the moon, and approaching a crater, from some distance. Okay, the probes that are going around the moon are at fairly high altitude, 30 to 60 miles. So that might be about like this, and then they see that this is what they see. This is the moon they see. A little closer. And then they take photos for us to examine and enjoy. Really cool stuff. But this is the absolute definitive way to look at the moon. Absolutely. All right. So hopefully you guys can remember this and check it out. It's a great teaching tool. And again, you hit the search over here, and this tool will allow you to draw lines across the lunar surface and see the profile image of a crater that you're drawing the line through. Okay. This is layers. You can actually turn off the nomenclature here. And there's a bunch of featured images as well in here, and you click on those, right? And then you come down, say here, it says remnants of the Imbrium impact, right? And when you click on them, you'll see that it brings you to a URL, someplace where you're going to go to actually see the remnants of the Mare Imbrium impact. Okay, and it's showing you these different pieces, and you learn all about the moon and the geology and what happened there. And really what it's pointing to is this rippled texture here, and how it kind of is like almost like this alluvial fan of debris. Just cool after, just cool. You can't say it isn't, you know. Right? And of course, the moon is covered with such features, and you can spend days, months exploring these things, you know. Like here is extensional fractures. Okay, and you click on the link and it'll take you to fractured terrain and talk about what these extensional fractures are. Okay, that you see. They're kind of like stress cracks, effectively, you know, in the basalt of the moon. Pretty cool, huh? Now you'll see that some craters have these little wells in them like this. These are basically like lava tubes, you know, that have collapsed basically, and so they leave pits behind. But it's inside lava tubes where we're looking to actually build a lunar colony, because that sort of adds protection already from the ultraviolet sun's radiation, and gives us a place to basically sit and be safe. So it's really a good location to do that. So you can do that. You can look at the featured images. You can also look at basically the sunlit region, which depends on the mode you're in, whether it'll do it or not. And it's giving us an error here, so it's probably not something that it is ready to show. Anthropogenic features. These are features that are, well, I'll show you. There are features from us. So, for instance, this is the location of one of the Surveyor spacecraft, and you zoom in and zoom in and zoom in, and sometimes, just sometimes, you can actually see a shadow of the craft on the moon. It turns out that this particular band wasn't as clear as the adjoining band, so we don't get to see there. But if you back out and you start poking around, okay, I know you're interested in seeing some of these. If I do nomenclature, is it going to give those names? No. Okay, so we don't get that. All right. All right. So we just have to zoom in to see them. All right. And I know that some of you would love to go see some of the Apollo landing sites. So why don't we go look at one of the Apollo sites?
Mark, will you excuse me, please? I need to call it a night.
All right, Daryl.
Okay. Take care, everybody. Thanks for having me on, Mark.
Absolutely, Daryl. Then thank you for joining me, and you're a trooper, man.
Take care. Have a good time.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. So now when we look here, this is the location of Apollo 15. And look what you see. These are the tracks left by astronauts and the rovers. Isn't that crazy? That's amazing stuff. Okay. This is the lunar ranging experiment. This is the lunar module. And if we turn off these dots, okay, you can actually see it a little better. Look at that. That is actually the lunar module and its shadow. Okay. Isn't that crazy? Now you actually see we were on the moon because we left tracks. So this is the kind of thing you can get with this particular browser. I've surveyed the data time and again, and it's really just beautiful. Now, if we go over to Copernicus crater and we come down about here, we should see another one. Let me first show you this. Okay, when they were coming to the moon, they would actually jettison one of the stages of this rocket that was carrying them, and it would crash on the moon and leave a crater. And there it is. Look, it even made rays. This is the Saturn 4B stage. I think that was the one that had the lunar module in it. And once they pulled it out, they didn't need that anymore, so they crashed it onto the moon, and it made its own crater. Isn't that cool? Pretty cool. And you can find these all over the moon, too. They're all marked. Basically, human-made craters on the moon. Okay, and now here's the Apollo 17 Saturn 4B stage. I guess if you've seen one crash crater, you've seen them all, right? But not exactly, because they don't all leave rays. But look at that. I mean, that wouldn't you like to just see that? It's full of debris. Wow. It's just all full of debris. I'd really like to see that. So you do have that. You have these anthropogenic features, the things that we did to the moon. And you can see all the Apollo landing sites. You can see the robotic missions, Ranger and Surveyors. And so you actually can just hang out and go all over the moon for hours and days. It can really get bad. You can just be immersed. Ask me how I know. Yeah, that's right. I did. I became immersed in it, But it was all right. It was okay. And then, of course, we have, Apollo 14, which is here. The one, it was actually 14, not 12. My apologies. They landed in the ray crater, ray structure, actually, of Copernicus to see what was going on. Let me turn off these anthropogenic features so you can actually see. Okay. This is a little better. You can actually see the lunar module descent stage here and its shadow. And you can see all the travel that they did. They went quite far. Look at this. All the way out here. That's, I don't know. If my oxygen was running low, I wouldn't want to be looking back going, wait a minute, how far away are we? But that's pretty good, man. That's a really good distance. Yeah. And you know what's weird? This lunar dust was really caustic and really made basically of shards of glass, microscopic glass, because that's how some of this pulverized meteoric dust that became little pieces of lava, it cooled that way, as little almost glass shards. And one of the astronauts walking on the moon he was a scuffer. He would just sort of like scuff his legs and scuff his feet in the lunar sands. And he had done one EVA, and he'd been out there walking around, and he came back in. He did a second, and we were supposed to do the third. I think it was the third. His suit was cut right through around the ankles because the lunar sand in regolith, it's called, the soil. The lunar soils were so sharp and caustic, they cut right through his clothes, the outer layer, down to the insulating layer. Had he gone out, he could have ended up with all of his atmosphere in his suit evacuating through his ankle. And in that suit, in that particular space suit, you didn't have a prayer of being able to reach down to your feet to cover it with something. So he would have died. So he actually did not go out on his last EVA. So because of that, crazy. Yeah. So yeah, spend time focusing on the different craters and poke around. You'll enjoy it. Okay, so I know I did. So that said, I will check the weather one more time because I'm trying to be a trooper here for you and give you your money's worth, because you guys paid a real pretty penny. Oh yeah, that's definitely not good, huh? All right, I tried. All right, folks, the clouds dictate the night. I hope you enjoyed the little foray off to the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter quick map browser page and enjoyed going through that. I love showing that off. I'm going to leave it up because when I go at and close the observatory, I'm going to come back and I'm going to start digging through. So I will yeah, I can't do anything. I'm going to have to I'm going to have to kill the stream and basically say goodnight to you all. I want to thank you for coming. I want to thank all of you that come here all the time. And I want to thank the newcomers, especially our friends who have joined us from Argentina and other places around the world. I'm really excited. There was a question earlier about 1998 OR2. Yes, we looked at it the other night, and it's now down in the constellation of Centaurus, and it's unable to be seen by us anymore in the northern hemisphere. Well, it's very low in the sky, so it's right on our horizon as of about 3 hours ago. So that means it's lower now even than that. It was a fast mover. Okay, well, you guys, you have a good night, and I shall talk to you later on in the week, I hope. And I look forward to bringing you another sky tour, all right, with the clear skies and the other side of the moon. Good night, guys. Thank you for your wonderful attention. I've had a great time with you tonight. So we'll see you on the other side. Good night.